The Fed's out of options. Rate cuts, money printing, balance sheet reversals. They call it policy, but it's really panic. This is in-game economics, where hope replaces discipline and the illusion of control finally breaks. They're not cutting rates because things are strong. They're cutting because the system is cracking. Inflation's eating savings. The labor market's stalling. Confidence in the dollar is fading fast. For decades, the Fed built a house of paper. Now they're striking the match that could burn it all down, leaving you to pay the price. When's the last time you actually held the wealth you've spent your life working for? My friends at Noble Gold Investments have been helping Americans move from paper wealth into real tangible assets. Numbers on a screen can disappear, but physical gold and silver, they've outlasted every crisis in history. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com and get your free wealth protection kit today. That's noblegoldinvestments.com for your free wealth protection kit. Discover how simple it is to protect your future. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Josh All, your host here on Tuesday, following the introductory press conference for Todd Monken, the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. That's right, that was at noon, so that just wrapped up. Sat there, listened to the whole thing, took a couple notes, listened to some of those fun questions that the reporters always ask, and overall, general thoughts on first impressions of Todd Monken speaking to the media about his position now as head coach for the Browns. He's definitely that old school type of football coach. He is not going to blow anybody away. Maybe that's the wrong way to put it. He's not going to fancy up what he's trying to say with, all this flowery language and big words. And he's not going to come across as that super high, Harvard educated, I'm going to kind of talk down to you a little bit type guy. He's a football coach, and he's definitely different than what we've had in the past. With Kevin Stefanski, you can definitely see the age difference here talking to these guys. Monken is definitely older as a football coach. He addressed that, but he did say that the version you're going to get of me now is a hell of a lot better than it would have been 15 or 20 years ago, talking to the experience that he's had over the years as a coordinator in the NFL and at the college football level, his brief stint at Southern Miss, being a head coach down there. So all of that leading to this, where he is now getting his first ever opportunity to coach an NFL team as the head coach here in Cleveland. So if you guys watched the press conference, drop in the comments. Let's talk about it. What did you think? How did you feel? At one point he was talking about wanting to thank his parents, who obviously are no longer with us. They've passed away, and he got a little choked up, and he stood there for a second and collected himself and said, "Shit. I told myself I wasn't going to cry during this thing." And it's like, okay, this guy, he's got a little bit more that I'm going to level with you, be real on your level type of approach to the way he addresses not just the media, but I'm sure this is how he handles things with players. And he talked about John Harbaugh and how he learned the art form from Harbaugh of being able to confront problems and issues with other coaches and and players on the team without being confrontational in the process. He said that's an art form. I learned that from John Harbaugh. That's one of the greatest things I learned from him and all that kind of stuff. So overall, the press conference was pretty much what you'd expect. They asked him, the first question, of course, was Mary Kay asking about Shedeur Sanders. Will he be the first guy up, starting quarterback for the Browns in 2026? And, Monken just kind of skirted around that one, just said, listen, I'm excited for everybody that's going to be on this roster. We're just going to take a look at things as they come and all that kind of, coach speak. And he went around that. They asked him about Jim Schwartz, and he said he's not going to discuss the conversations that he's had with Jim Schwartz so far, but that he is a great coordinator and he has great respect for him, and he hopes that Schwartz has great respect for him as well. So Blake was texting me during the press conference, said, man, it just does not sound like Jim Schwartz is coming back. And I said, no, it really doesn't. It doesn't sound like it unless they're working on, we're hearing Mary Kay report these things about Jim Schwartz's not out of the picture for the Browns. They could be working on a new deal or increased pay rate with more responsibilities, more control over the defensive staff and hirings and things like that. I have no idea what's going to happen with Jim Schwartz as of right now, until I hear that he is for sure going to stay here in 2026 and be the defensive coordinator. I'm kind of just moving on in my mind and assuming that he's not, because I can't bank on the guy who walked out of the building because he was mad that he didn't get the head coaching job and told people that he's not coming back. I can't bank on that. So I'm going to just assume he's not back until I hear otherwise, until there's a confirmation report that he will be here in 2026. To that note, I did tell Blake, the Browns need to get the frick moving on this, because if Jim Schwartz isn't coming back, we need to hire a defensive coordinator. We need to make sure our defensive staff, if we're keeping guys, if we're hiring guys from the outside to come in, that stuff needs to get done. And I understand we're not the only team still working through staff hirings and all this stuff. Everybody with the new head coaching situations, I get it. But I don't care about everybody else. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be like the good teams. I don't want to be like the other teams floundering at the 12th hour or 13th, whatever it is, 11th hour, trying to figure out who's going to be my coach at this position, who blah, blah, blah. Figure it out. We have got Senior Bowl's over, Shrine Bowl's over, the bowl, the All-Star games and stuff. That stuff is done. If Jim Schwartz is not your defensive coordinator, guess who didn't get to send any of their defensive staff to the Senior Bowl? The Browns. Because we don't have one in place. I mean, I understand that there are guys obviously still under contract and still in those positions. But your defensive coordinator wasn't there because you don't know who it is. Obviously, again, there's scouts and stuff at all these things, but it's nice to get the coach's input as well and to see these players, because they're the ones working with them. They're the ones going to be coaching them and putting them into their system, into their spots on the field. Just, to me, it seems important to have this stuff in place, so they need to get that figured out. We'll touch on a little bit more of the press conference, I suppose, as we go along here. Overall, like I said, it was basically Todd Monken being very grateful for the opportunity. They asked him questions about like the wide receiver unit, the offensive line. How would you evaluate those currently, how they currently stand and all that stuff. And, he just said, hey, listen, I'm still working on putting my staff together. We will get to player personnel in a timely manner and we'll go from there. So really nothing revolutionary out of this press conference, nothing crazy. He did confirm that he will be calling the plays on offense. Obviously we assumed that. I don't think anybody assumed or felt strongly that, what's his name? Switzer. Why can't I think of his first name? I had these pulled up. Where are my notes? Come on, guys. Help me out here. Travis. I keep wanting to say Todd, but that's the head coach. Travis Switzer, the former run game coordinator for the Ravens, now the OC for the Browns under Monken. Didn't really expect him to all of a sudden just move up here and be calling plays and be an offensive coordinator, all that stuff. So it makes sense. I didn't think for a minute that Todd Monken was not going to be calling the plays, but he did confirm it today. So at least we have that cleared up and we know what the situation is, at least on the offensive side of the ball, moving forward. Just trying to think if there's anything else from the press conference that I wanted to get to. If there is, I'll think of it, spit it out to you guys here as we go along. Today, mainly, though, I wanted to just dive into the rest of these voicemails. You guys were sending your reactions from the Todd Monken hire late last week, over the weekend, things like that. We didn't get to play very many Sunday night on the YouTube live show with Blake, Justin, and Kenny. So we'll get to the rest of your voicemails that I have in the queue waiting. We're going to do it today on the show. Before I dive in, make sure you guys go to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page, sync up with the private Discord, get in there, chat with everybody in that diehard Browns fan community. It is an awesome place to be. And then you get access to the Discord Dog Pack live episodes that we do, and you get to play fantasy football with us when that rolls around. There's dynasty leagues in there. There's all kinds of stuff. Like it's a huge community. Anything that you're interested in, I guarantee you're going to find people in there that can share those interests with you. It's jointhedogs.com. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Browns fans, I know I can't be the only one. Have you ever searched something random like, I don't know, how to make French toast, and suddenly you're getting ads for all kinds of different recipes? Yeah, me too. It's a bit scary how much the internet seems to know about me these days. Thankfully, today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, can help us out with that. A VPN is a virtual private network which allows me to mask my real IP address. It's like putting a guardian cap on my online data, essentially meaning that my activity online is safe and no longer being tracked. Ever wonder just how much of your personal identity is floating around online? Every click, every scroll, every late night mock draft that you do, all of it can be logged, tracked, and sold. With Surfshark, all that data stays yours. When I'm connected, Surfshark encrypts everything I do online, so even my internet provider or nosy advertisers can't see what I'm up to. It's like finally being able to shut the blinds on your digital life, total privacy, total control, and honestly, it's a relief knowing I can browse freely without constantly worrying who's watching. And this is a big one for me. Surfshark does not keep logs, like at all. That means even if someone wanted to see what I've been up to online, there's literally nothing to show them. Most people don't realize this, but some VPNs do keep records of your activity, which kind of defeats the point of privacy, right? Surfshark's strict no logs policy means they don't monitor, track, or store any of your browsing data. It's like wiping your digital footprints clean the second you take a step. I find that so reassuring knowing that what I do online stays my business and no one else's. And Surfshark has other great products like their antivirus add-on. We tend to think viruses are a laptop problem, but they can hit phones, tablets, anything really. That's why Surfshark Antivirus is such a smart add-on. It's built right into the app and runs quietly in the background, protecting against malware, trojans, and all that nasty stuff that can sneak in from downloads or dodgy sites. I love that I don't need a separate antivirus subscription. Surfshark just handles it. It's one less thing to worry about and one more reason I feel properly covered online. So start protecting your online identity today with Surfshark. You can try it right now with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to surfshark.com/dogs, DAWGS, or use code DOGS at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Link and code are in the description. Surfshark.com/dogs, code DOGS. Okay, first voicemail, because like I said, I just want to dive right into these here today. And again, just to reiterate, these are from last week, so there's some negative comments in here. There's some voicemails that are actually pretty positive about the Todd Monken hire. You guys know, if you watched Sunday night when we had the whole crew together here on the show, everybody, we're coming along with this idea that, okay, maybe Todd Monken, wow, I'm not ready to sit here and say that the process worked out exactly like the Browns planned for it to. No, I think the process was still pretty crappy. I think the way it looked dysfunctional and like it just wasn't going the way they had probably hoped. I think that's pretty fair. I think you can look at it from the surface level and say, yeah, I think that's what happened. Did they come out with maybe the best option to lead this team, at least right now? Whether or not Todd Monken turns into being the head coach for the next decade or more, and let's cool the jets on that. But could he be the best solution for where the team currently is? Maybe. I'm definitely open to maybe that was the best choice for where we are right now. I said the other night, I'll say again, I say this about everybody on the team. As soon as you become a Cleveland Brown, I will root for you until you give me a reason not to. So, Todd, let's go, baby. You got this. We're going to do this until you come out here and prove that you're not the guy. I'm gonna support you and root for you. But it doesn't mean everybody was thrilled. I obviously wasn't thrilled last week when the news came out. And this first voicemail is from Zach, and neither was he.
What's up? It's Fake Burns, a.k.a. Zach. Not happy at all about it. And Josh, just kind of everything you said, I'm on the same track. Why would we wait that long? No one else wanted him. If we wanted Monken like that, why wouldn't we have just taken him early? And Schwartz wanting to leave, I don't blame him. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope all of us doubters about it are wrong. But being Cleveland fans usually doesn't end up going that way. So not anticipating us being wrong. But shit, if we are and he becomes Super Bowl caliber coach, I hope that these podcasts are played on SportsCenter so they're like, and look where Monken is now. But until that happens, I'm just gonna keep being disappointed and hope to not hear much about this team until April, when we probably draft a defensive end or something like that with the 6th pick and be the Cleveland Browns like we normally are. Other than that, just wanted a quick rant. Just finished the last podcast, and I'm pretty sure Vinty's a troll. There's no way he's a real dude. He seems really angry for some reason, but go Browns.
Yeah, man, Vinty is not a very happy person whatsoever. And I haven't gotten any messages or emails from him here in the last 4 or 5 days. So that's cool. Maybe he's calming down a little bit. I say that now, and the next time I open my inbox, there's going to be one in there just blasting me. I guarantee it. But funny you say that the Browns are going to draft some defensive end at 6 because, brother, I'm with you. I have this fear that we're going to do something like that. I just saw the mock draft from who was it? Mike Miller, I think the other day dropped a 2-round mock. I think it was Mike Miller. And anyway, whoever it was, they had a 2-round mock draft come out, an industry mock, and it was offensive tackle. I think it was Francis Mauigoa from Miami at 6. And then I believe it was Denzel Boston, the wide receiver from Washington, at 24. And then at 39 in the second round, they gave us, what was the kid's name? Godley. I forget. I don't even know. The linebacker out of Cincinnati. Like, the reason I don't know the kid's name is because I'm not even researching linebackers. Definitely not ones that go in the first or second round. Are you kidding me? So I saw that and I thought, okay, I hope this is not based on anything he's hearing or any vibes that he's getting from, within the industry that, hey, the Browns could be looking defense in the second. No, please, God, no, we need freaking offensive players. But there's that fear, Zach, that Andrew Berry could go Andrew Berry on us. Oh, boy. Okay, let's see. Do we want to do another negative? Well, let's do this. Let's hear from social worker Josh.
Hey, Dogs Podcast, social worker Josh here from PDX. I've been saving this up, trying to figure out how I feel about the Todd Monken hire here. And all I can think about is that this is where the phrase Cleveland Steamer came from. Because Jimmy Haslam keeps taking a big old giant dump all over the Browns year after year. I can't take it. I want Jimmy out. I want the Haslams gone. I want them to sell the Browns to someone who is a reasonable owner, who makes reasonable decisions for the team, that has the best in mind for the long-term future of the team. That is not the Haslams. Get them the f*** out of Cleveland. I'm done.
Okay, so social worker Josh clearly does not agree with the hire. And I got to tell you, I mean, I know that's the sentiment from a lot of Browns fans out there is, man, this ownership group, they can't stop meddling. And well, I'm not saying that's wrong. Like that, you guys are totally valid to say those things because they do. And they've made some pretty horrendous decisions over the years that have just sunk this franchise. And we cannot seem to get anywhere positive anytime we get to the playoffs, which has been twice. Then it's just a complete dump, a complete drop off the following season. And it's like, why can't we just sustain any sort of winning success? Well, a lot of it does go back to the ownership, but I got a voicemail here that I'm trying to see who it is. I think it's this one from Justin, talks about how it's not just in Cleveland and it's not just with the Browns specifically where professional sports ownership is not exactly the best. But here, let's listen to this from Justin.
What's up, Dog Podcast? It's your friendly neighborhood Browns fan out here in Jersey. Just some quick thoughts. Todd Monken. I gotta stop calling him the Monkster. Not a great feeling, right? But I'm gonna be a little optimistic about it. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna say that even amongst the rubble, and I do feel like we kind of ended up with him, regardless of what the media is saying, and that we wanted him, whatever, bullcrap. We ended up with him. So with us ending up with him, what can we things that we can think about? Well, he was in Baltimore, and did he get a Super Bowl? No. And he had Lamar Jackson. But what we can also say is that what is one thing he did not have in Baltimore? And that's a badass wide receiver. So let's go get Tate, and hopefully he falls in our lap at 6. There's a couple other good receivers we could take too. And then really just see how he's going to develop Shedeur Sanders, incorporate a really good wide receiver and Harold Fannin into the lineup next year. Maybe work free agency and some second round draft picks for offensive linemen. And that could be how you fix it. Anyway, they'll probably take a linebacker with our, pick six with our 6th pick in the first round. There's something like that out of Akron. Who knows? Anyway, go Browns. Ooh.
All right, Justin, thanks. First of all, I was wrong. It was not Justin who's talking about the ownership in Baltimore and things like that. I'll find which voicemail that was here in a second. But, dude, first of all, that was what Zach just said about, watch them take a linebacker at number 6. Dude, I quit saying that stuff, man. You guys are making me I do have this fear. I really do in the pit of my stomach. Like, what if we freaking do something like that when we just need wide receivers and linemen? Just for God's sake, Andrew Berry. Nobody right now, at least nobody with a logically thinking mind and can look at your history can sit here and say with confidence, yes, Andrew Berry can build up this offense. Dude, you have got to prove this to us, man, because you destroyed this offense. It is a dumpster fire under you. And you're the guy here tasked with building it back up. So yes, Cardinal Tate, Makai Lemon, Jordan Tyson. I don't care. Get one of those guys. I'm telling you, get one of those freaking guys. And Justin, don't stop calling him the Monkster, because I'm going to start calling him the Monkster. I like that a lot, the Monksters. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Okay, let's see. I think we'll... it must have been Steven. Talking about ownership stuff. We got 2 voicemails from Steven. Here's the first one.
Hey guys, this is Steven from out in Medina, calling in for the first time. Just wanted to bring up some stuff I've been hearing with the Todd Monken hire. Yeah, I mean, first of all, just the argument I keep hearing is that he was the one who got John Harbaugh fired, and the Ravens hated him so much that they were willing to fire John Harbaugh to get him out of there. And I don't know, I just think that's kind of a ridiculous thing to bring up, because we've seen dysfunctional ownership across all of sports. Honestly, it's become the status quo in sports ownership at this point to be dysfunctional. There's very few functional ownership groups left in sports. And we're lucky enough to have one here with the Cleveland Guardians. But yeah, I think that that's just a possible sign of dysfunction in the Baltimore Ravens organization and in their ownership, that they were willing to make such drastic moves over such a small sample size of a season, riddled with injury and dysfunction on the defensive side of the ball, where I think we can pretty clearly say that, it was dysfunctional on that side of the ball. But overall, I think that Todd Monken isn't a horrible coaching hire. I think the process was stupid, but the hire overall is fine.
Yeah, Steven, like I said earlier in the show, the process, again, I mentioned this in a previous episode, you can spread all kinds of lipstick on that pig of the process. Still pig, okay? I'm not going to do it because the process looked messy, felt messy, sounded messy, seemed messy. Did it maybe work out in their favor where, yes, to, who was it? Justin, I think, said we ended up with him. Okay. Did we maybe end up getting who was actually the best option for us right now in this moment out of this candidate pool? That's possible. That is very much a possibility. And I'm going to roll with that until I am proven that, or until they prove to me that this was a bad hire, because again, I will root for you until I can't. But that, Stephen makes some good points there about ownership, and obviously the Browns have not had the best track record with our ownership under the Haslams, but to the positive side of things, they are willing to spend money, unlike other ownership groups, and his willingness to spend cash and everything helps Andrew Berry, or allows Andrew Berry to structure the contracts, because we just saw how much the cap is projected to go up this year. The Browns are going to have so much cap space now between the restructures that Andrew Berry does, the cap rollover that he has put into place from last season into this season, and now the cap increase. Like, as much as I dog Andrew Berry for what he's put together on the offensive side of the ball, roster-wise, the dude does have a solid knowledge and grasp and foundation on the cap, understanding and everything. Like, he's really good at that. So just got to start getting the right freaking players, Andrew. Come on, man. Steven, you left a second voicemail, and this one, yeah, we need to talk about this.
Hey, it's Steven here again, leaving another voicemail. Yeah, I've just been thinking about this whole Jim Schwartz situation, and I want to know what you guys think about it. But yeah, I don't know if at this point Jim Schwartz should even there should be a path for him to come back. Like, I don't know if that's a thing. I feel like if he's coming back, that's just breeding dysfunction, and it's going to create a situation in which, yeah, there's just there's a lack of understanding between him and the rest of the coaching staff. And I mean, when we inevitably are 3-7 coming towards the end of the season, it's just going to absolutely blow up in everybody's faces. And we're going to be talking about how we're watching this dysfunctional team just blow up again. So I just don't know if there's a reality in which, after the way Jim Schwartz left, if he really should be back. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.
It's it's a real sticky situation now with Jim Schwartz, the way that went. Again, I'm moving forward assuming he's not coming back until I hear otherwise, because from the horse's mouth, apparently or allegedly, Jim Schwartz said he's not coming back. So I got to take the man at his word, at least at that. And then obviously, money can solve things and increase responsibilities and control over the staffing for his side of the ball. Like that could change the situation. Do we want to do that? Will he still be committed, or is there going to be a resentment from him the rest of the season that, well, I didn't get to be the head coach? You run all kinds of risks. These are human beings. So obviously the situation is complex no matter what. When you're dealing with people, there's complexity to this situation. And this one got way more complex with the way he reacted to the news. You guys just know, if you're longtime Browns fans, like, you just know how it's going to go. If they bring Schwartz back, he agrees to be here for 2026. And we have a game at some point in this coming season in 2026 where it's a team like the Titans. It's the worst offense in the league. They only put up 16 points per game. They're the most sacked quarterback, all this stuff. Like, it's the worst team in the league, and they come into Cleveland and drop 31 points on us. What people are going to be saying and bitching about. Well, Jim Schwartz didn't even want to be here. Obviously, he still doesn't want to be like that. That's going to happen. It's going to happen if that were to take place. So, yeah, it's not great. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's just not a good situation. We'll leave it there. We'll monitor what's going on and give you guys updates as we get them. Let's kick it over. We got Kenny Mack on the VMs today. Let's hear what Kenny has to say.
Yo guys, it's Kenny Mack, and you know what? I was looking at all the coaches that got hired. I think there's one thing that can kind of set Monken apart, at least in his first 2 years. And, they got a lot in common, all these 10 coaches. I mean, they're either sons of coaches. They got multiple years of experience in their specific discipline, defense, offense, or special teams, whatever it is. But the one thing they don't have is 3-4 years ago, they weren't in college and they didn't win a national championship. And what I mean by that, and kind of got into my mind when we were talking about Shador and the possible recruitment of him to Georgia, is there was probably about 100 to 300 other players that they were trying to recruit in the years that he was there. And he might have more intimate knowledge of some of these draft picks, and that may help us in the actual draft. You guys can tell me. I mean, I just think between the Ravens, which we did bring up, and the former players, and this possibility of him having some more knowledge of these possible draft picks this year and next, I think that's something that may have convinced the Browns as well. Tell me, boys, what do you think? Let's go Browns.
I do think, Kenny, that Todd Monken's vast experience working with young football players, and not just working with them, but leading them to success, probably played a strong role in him getting this job in Cleveland, because we have a very young roster. We played like the most. There was a stat on the screen in one of the championship games last weekend, and it said most downs played by rookies this season, on a team, and the Browns were far and away the most. The number 2 team that had the most snaps played by rookies in 2025, I want to say it was almost 100 fewer than the Browns? Like, the Browns had the most. We had, I think, 14 rookies on this roster. The quarterback, the wide receiver, the running backs were everybody was rookie. We had rookies everywhere on defense playing a ton of snaps because they were starters with Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger. So it's a very young roster, and I think that he definitely has demonstrated his ability to lead young players to success at the college level, and a year or two removed from college is still close to the college level for some of these guys in terms of their age and things like that and their development at the pro level. So, yeah, I do think his track record there definitely played a role. Great point by Kenny. Kenny's always making great points. You guys know that.
This episode is partnered with Kalshi.
Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay just to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback? Will the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl? Will Fernando Mendoza be the first overall pick in the NFL draft? And in other sports, will the Cavs make the NBA playoffs? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anyone who signs up at kalshi.com/dogs and trades $100. Get away from disadvantageous sports books and dive into real-world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, or just click the link in the description to get $10 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. Because why shouldn't you get paid for being right? Okay, let's see. I think we've only got a couple voicemails left. We're getting through all of these. Colin is up next.
How you doing? My name's Colin. I'm a new listener to the podcast. Just want to say I love it so far. I listened to the last week or so, and it's been really good hearing your guys' opinions about all the topics, especially the head coaching search and who we got at Todd Monken. But first of all, I want to say excited for the future with him. I know he's going to be a good bridge for us to see kind of lead us in the right direction, especially with our offensive side. But I had two quick questions. One, what are you thinking about the draft? How do you think that what direction we're going to go? I know we need wide receivers and we also need offensive linemen. So who would you pick up with our first pick, our first 2 picks in the first round? And then second question I have for you is about Deshaun Watson. What are we going to do with him, especially since Todd Monken is very high on Shedeur? Do we give him one more year, one more shot to kind of earn it? Or are we just going to head in a different direction with him and have him sit for the next season? But yeah, thank you so much. Love listening to your podcast, and I tend to listen to it more. Bye.
All right, Colin, thank you. I hope you do listen to it more. One, because I'm playing your voicemail here, and I'm going to respond to it. So a couple questions there from Colin. Great questions. Let's work our way backward. Deshaun Watson, I have said on this podcast, and Kenny Mack has also said this. Deshaun Watson, if you don't think he is in play, if you don't think he's in play to start games in 2026, I think you're lying to yourself. Now, I'm not saying I'm advocating for it. I don't want him to start games, and I definitely want Shedeur Sanders to be the guy for 2026. I think he's got the potential, and I think with the proper development and leadership and the proper pieces around him, put him in an offense where he can be successful, actually, you're going to see good things from him. Deshaun Watson, I think the ship has sailed. The time has passed. He's too old. He's too injured. He doesn't know how to play. You guys got to think about this, okay? The last time Deshaun Watson played long stretches of successful football in the NFL, he was like 25, maybe even 24, I forget, years old, okay? That is vastly different than now all of a sudden being 30, coming off 3, I guess, major injuries. You're not going to be anywhere near the athlete you were when you were 24. The arm strength, the shoulder injury, the Achilles stuff, like, no. And not to mention the last time we saw him healthy, quote unquote, on the field, he looked horrible. So this is the last year under contract for Deshaun Watson, the person. So the 2026 is the last year that Deshaun Watson, the person, will be on the Browns. Now, his contract will remain. It will be the ghost that haunts this team for several years into the future after all the restructures, but he will be a free agent after this year, and he will not be on the roster anymore. So really, there's no, I don't want to say it, there can't be a strong emphasis on trying to make it work with Deshaun when it's like he ain't going to be here next year anyway. I get it where his contract is going to be around, and you could roll some of that restructure, I think, into an extension if you were, if you wanted to extend him and keep him as the quarterback, say we're going to do a 3-year extension, roll some of these years, whatever. I don't know how it all works. I just know that you can do that type of stuff. They're not going to do that. They're not extending him now. So who cares? Who cares? There's no point. You've got your potential future in Shedeur Sanders. That is what you need to move forward with. So there's where I am with Watson. Again, we joke about it all the time. We're texting each other and talking off air. It's like, until there's a year where the Browns don't have to play every single quarterback that's on their roster at some point, I'll maybe start believing it. But until that happens, this is what it is. Every single quarterback that's on our roster will start games at some point for the Browns during the season. Every year. That's what happens. That's why I think you need to understand there is a possibility. We see 4 out there. Again, don't want it, not hoping for it. Also trying to brace myself for that reality becoming truth. As far as the draft goes, Colin, I'm glad you asked some questions here about the draft. I got one voicemail left to play here to wrap this up at the end, but let's talk draft for just a second. I'm doing my research. I'm doing my groundwork on positions of need for the Browns, putting some stuff together. I'm going to be doing some prospect episodes. Now that we got all this head coaching search stuff out of the way, that really bogged everything down. Usually I've got a lot of draft content already created and out to you guys, getting everything in the works, moving into the pre-draft process here for the Browns at this point in the offseason. But this is the first time we've had this extended long head coaching search, so we've been covering that primarily. I've got a wide receiver show coming up for you guys. We're going to go through kind of the consensus top 10, top 15 type guys. We're just going to do a brief overview of those players, not necessarily my ranking or how I would, order them for the Browns, but just so you get a familiarity with the names and who these kids are coming out in this draft class. I'm going to do the same for the offensive line, and then we'll kind of go through some other positions of need. Safety, some cornerbacks, some guys like maybe some later round linebackers, because I'm not taking another freaking linebacker in the first 4 picks, guys. We need, and I'm talking to Matt Miller here, we need offense. So what I would do, Colin, I've been on the get 2 wide receivers in the first round, get a wide receiver and a tackle, get a tackle and a wide receiver. I'm not on the get 2 tackles or 2 offensive linemen, I should say. You can't really nail it down to just tackles, but I'm not on the 2 O-line train in the first round. And the reason being, well, I'm not going to go too deep in the weeds with this. I just want to give you guys a preview of what's to come in all the draft breakdown that I'm going to do in the coming weeks. But offensive line, from the research and everything. First of all, offensive line and wide receiver, deep positions in this draft. Here's the caveat. No clear-cut, top elite tier players as far as we know this wide receiver will be the first wide receiver off the board because he is that good. We know this guy will be the second one because he is that good. It is not Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors. It is not those type of prospects in this class. It is not Will Campbell is the clear-cut best left tackle in this draft, and if you need a left tackle and you want the best one, that's who you get. Those prospects aren't in this class. But there are good prospects at both of these positions, and it's deeper at these positions than in previous years. So you can, the fall off from the top guys to like the next tier or 2 of players in those position groups is not as drastic as the fall off was, say, last year or the year before. Now, where I kind of see a tier break is more at the wide receiver position than the offensive line position. Because right now, obviously, if you want to take an offensive lineman at 6, you're talking Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah, and you're talking Francis Mauigoa, the offensive tackle from Miami. Those are the 2 guys. If you're really, really jonesing for an offensive tackle at the top of the draft, those are the 2 names you're really looking at. To me, at 24, at least the way things lay right now in the mock draft database and the projections and everything, you got guys like Caleb Lomu, Caden Proctor, who I don't know if I'm really that big a fan of yet. I got to do some more deep dives into him. From Alabama, Lomu's the other offensive tackle from Utah. And then, what's his name? Freeling. What's his first name? Oh, man, this is why I hate doing this stuff without my notes up in front of me. Freeling, the offensive tackle from Georgia. Why can't I think of his first name? Anyway, you guys are screaming it right now as you're listening. I know it. I do the same thing. There are players, and that's not even to mention some of the guards that are available in that range later in the first round. So there are good offensive linemen, and I don't feel like the drop-off from those top two names I said that you would have to take at 6 if you wanted them. I don't feel like the drop-off is big from them to these guys in the 20s. The difference, obviously, between the positions is when you talk about Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, and Jordan Tyson. And yes, that is the order I have these guys in right now. I still think Carnell Tate, if he's available at 6, and that's if he is available at 6, because I think there's a good chance somebody like the Cardinals, the Titans, the Giants, there are 3 teams in front of us that could very easily take a wide receiver before we get on the clock. And I would think right now Carnell Tate is probably that guy at the top of the board for most people in this draft. And then Mekhi Lemon, I know there's people out there that think 6 is too high to take Mekhi Lemon. I don't. I really don't. You guys know that. I think Mekhi Lemon is a special player. And I know he's not the biggest. I know there's people out there screaming, oh, but he's not 6'2". Quit getting me these 5'11" guys. Okay. All right. I get it. I know size is important, but what's more important is can you freaking play the position? And this kid is so good. So good. And then it's Jordan Tyson for me. After those 3, though, the drop off to the next tier, which is like your Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, these type of guys. I'm trying to think who else is kind of in that range. And then there's probably another little drop to like an Omar Cooper, Elijah Surratt, maybe Zachariah Branch. I'm not sure how big I am on him. There's some other names, obviously, that we'll get to when I do the full breakdown of wide receivers. But I think the drop-off from those top 3 receivers to the next grouping is worth taking the wide receiver at 6 over the tackle. I know that was a very long-winded way to get to that, and I hope I explained it well. If I didn't, I'm sorry. I sometimes I just word salad things and blah. But I do. I want one of those big 3 receivers. I think they are enough of a difference maker, and we need that. I can't take a wide receiver who might just be a high-end wide receiver too. I don't need that. I don't need that. I mean, that'd be great if it was like my second guy. I need a guy who can be a high-end wide receiver 1 on this team. We haven't had one in so long. And I know Amari Cooper had a couple great years, but he was not like a feared, you gotta know where this guy is at all times type of wide receiver at the end, like in the NFL by the time we got him. He was kind of on the downswing of it. Yes, he had some good seasons with us. But I'm looking at, I need somebody who can rise and start out strong as a rookie and continue to grow into this one of like a dominant NFL wide receiver 1, not just a Cleveland wide receiver 1, but one of the guys that's talked about around the league as that's one of the best receivers in the league. And I think Tate, Lemon, and Tyson are your 3 options, your best chances to achieve that. So that's why I'm not moving off that. I will not take a tackle at 6 unless all 3 of those guys are gone. That's it. If all 3 of those guys are gone, then you got your pick probably of Fano or Maui Noah. And honestly, I'm probably taking Maui Noah. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But thank you for the draft question. I got one more voicemail, like I said here, and this one is from our man, Brad.
This one's for you, Justin. Can you smell what the Browns are cooking? And his name was Todd Monken. Yeah, brother. Man, Todd Monken be like, yeah, give me that offensive coach, that one, all off the Ravens. Ha, John Harbaugh, you don't get any of them. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I'm just leaning into the Lulu boys because I'm tired of being depressed. So I'm just leaning into the positivity of this. And we'll see what happens. We could have an awesome offseason, and this team could be so back. But you know what? I'm going to say it right now. We are so back, baby. Right now. Browns going to be back. Super Bowl, Super Browns, baby. Let's go. I'm excited. Let's see all these more hires. We'll see what happens to Jim Schwartz. Who knows, man? Sky's only the limit. I'm excited for the draft. Let's go as Browns.
Way to end us on a positive note, Brad. I know sometimes throughout the season you can be the most negative person aside from me, which is crazy. And sometimes you are the most, you embody the just ever ultimate Browns fan optimist. And there you go. Super Bowl Browns, baby. I did want to say here, Brad, thank you for the voicemail. I'm sorry Justin wasn't on this episode to hear that, but I'll send it to him. I'll send it to him, make sure he hears it. There is an opportunity here where the Browns, it sounds like we are going to be overseas again. I did want to mention this before I close out the show. Just want to run down some more notes here that I'm seeing, some news and things. There's a chance we're playing, let's see, I think we might be playing Paris and Madrid, which would mean if the Browns play 2 international games this year, they would be back-to-back. Kind of like the Jaguars or Vikings did last year where they were over there overseas 2 weeks in a row. The reason for this, NFL announced that they will be playing the first ever game in Paris, France, and the New Orleans Saints will be the home team or the hosting team for that matchup. They did not announce who the opponent is going to be, but I think there were multiple French outlets, sports outlets that reported it will be the Browns. That will be the team playing against the Saints. So they're already reporting it over there. So it sounds like, even though it has not been confirmed, there's strong rumors that the Browns will be playing the first ever France game in Paris in 2026. And then we get the Madrid. The NFL announced that there's a multi-year deal to continue playing games in Madrid, Spain. And the promotional poster for the 2026 Madrid game is a Browns helmet. Clearly a Browns helmet. I don't know how you can look at this promo poster and think, well, maybe that's the Seahawks. No, that is a Browns helmet. So I would say there's a decent likelihood, because a lot of times when we see these type of things come out ahead of time, even though they haven't been confirmed, it ends up being true. So I think the signs and clues are here to say that the Browns may very well be playing back-to-back international games in 2026. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think, again, I understand the international audience, and I know there's Browns fans in these countries that they're dying to see the Browns play live in person, and this is their opportunity to do that. I had conversations with people when it was rumored the Browns were going to Brazil last year, and there were Brazilian Browns backers groups down there saying, but we want the Browns to come down here and play. We want to watch them. For the team itself, it is taxing. It's just difficult for them to travel overseas, be over there for, even just the 1 week, but then multiple weeks in a row and coming back. And then you got to try to finagle your bye week at the right time, because it's just, I don't know. These international games, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of them. Again, it's not that I'm not a fan of the international fan base for the NFL or the Browns specifically. I think that's great. But in terms of what it does to the product on the field, the players on the roster, that kind of stuff, we're not a team that needs more obstacles. I guess is probably what the best way I can say that. We need things to kind of just go in our favor, and jumping on a plane and traveling to the other side of the world, just, I don't know, not exactly it. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe these won't come true and the Browns won't be playing overseas this season. But just wanted to throw that out there, get your guys' opinions on the international games and how you guys feel about all of that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you want to get your voicemails on the show, just like all these other guys did, thank you everybody for sending those in the last week with your reactions to the Todd Monken hire. And I appreciate hearing from everybody. That's www.thedogspodcast.com to do that. You can also send messages into the website or in from the website. If you don't want to leave a voicemail, then I can read it on here just like Vinty does, which I'm hoping he doesn't send anymore because he's a real pain in the butt. But I do love reading his stuff because, I mean, who doesn't love to hear all that negative stuff thrown at you? It's wonderful. Anyhow, jointhedogs.com is where you guys can go get in the Discord, hang out with us, chat, private message. We can talk, we can hang out. Everybody's in there. It's just a great place to be. It's a good way to support the show. We appreciate everybody in there supporting us and helping us continue to grow and build this platform, which has just become something we never imagined possible. And it really is awesome. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Jointhedogs.com. Stay warm, everybody up north here where it's cold. And we'll be back. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, but I am recording a podcast tomorrow with Barry Shuck, the staff writer from Dogs by Nature. We do this every year. Barry was down at the Senior Bowl. We were supposed to be at the Senior Bowl this year, but then that snowstorm came in. My son's first birthday was last week during the Senior Bowl. Nothing worked out this year. We had the media credentials. Everything was ready to go. We just weren't able to pull the trigger on actually traveling down to Alabama and attending the Senior Bowl. So we didn't go. We were supposed to be there. We're hoping to get there, obviously, next year. But Barry Shuck from Dogs by Nature, he's there every year. He takes great notes. He does a great job. It's like an annual tradition. I always meet with him on the podcast to talk about players that he saw, charted, scouted down there who could be in play for the Browns. And that's what we're going to talk about with him. And that episode will either come out later tomorrow or maybe on Thursday. And then I want to put together another mock draft episode for you guys. And again, like I said, the receiver prospects, the O-line prospects, I want to really start honing in on this draft talk because that's going to be the big thing. We're going to be talking about free agents and top free agents that the Browns can bring in. So there's a lot of good content coming now that this head coaching search is finally behind us and we can focus on the players that are going to be hopefully executing some winning football on the field this year. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. Gosh, I hope so. I cannot take another 3 freaking win season. That was terrible these last 2 years. But thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. Stay tuned for all that content coming. And I will see you guys in the next one. Let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is partnered with Kalshi. Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay just to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback? Will the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl? Will Fernando Mendoza be the first overall pick in the NFL draft? And in other sports, will the Cavs make the NBA playoffs? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anyone who signs up at kalshi.com/dogs and trades $100. Get away from disadvantageous sports books and dive into real world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, or just click the link in the description to get $10 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. Because why shouldn't you get paid for being right?